From what I understand, she would pick out the male prostitutes sometimes. He told me that they'd be in the car and she'd be in the back seat and she would punch Diddy in the face. She filed a civil lawsuit. He settled that lawsuit with her very quickly. Now, I'm 99.9% positive that part of the settlement was an NDA, which means that she can't write a book, she can't do interviews, she can't do a documentary.
She can't divulge.
But when
anything.
it comes to a criminal proceeding,
she can.
Private contracts, which an NDA is, get thrown out the window. And she can be compelled to cooperate and essentially say everything that was said in that lawsuit on the stand. She could be compelled to cooperate. They could say maybe they got something on her as well. Hey, listen, we know that maybe you did some sex trafficking. You know what I mean? Like I'd heard, for example, I'm not gonna say from who, the whole thing of the hiring of male prostitutes. From what I understand, she would pick out the male prostitutes sometimes. That was her thing as well. I had heard that from someone close to the situation. You could be charged for prostitute solicitation.
Now, Vlad,
unless you cooperate, because we're not really after you, we're after him.
I want to be clear on this. Where did you hear that she would pick them out?
From somebody I know. I'm not gonna say who.
That kind of takes a little bit of the sting of her being forced.
You can't be with someone for 10 years
and
just be forced, unless you're chained in a basement.
Right.
You know,
right.
She's been outside at parties and the Met Gala. There was no chain that he had her on.
Right.
She wanted to be in this. You know, and for example, I talked to Roger Bonds. He told me that they'd be in the car and she'd be in the back seat and she would punch Diddy in the face. And then he would jump in the back seat and they would start tussling and he'd have to roll up the windows or whatever else. But the physical abuse was happening both ways. And of course, he saw him physically abuse her sometimes, but it would go both ways. Whenever they were with Cassie, she would be trying to convince them to talk to Diddy for them to get married, because Diddy didn't want to marry her. You know what I mean? But she wanted to be married. She was like, yo, talk to Diddy, yo, ask me to marry him, because I want to do it. Like, I'm tired of just being like, I want to be married. There's a lot of dimensions to this shit. She was a young girl at the time. Maybe she liked having young, ripped dudes her as opposed to Diddy. Maybe he liked to watch that. You know what I mean? But, when it comes out of lawsuit, I was forced to have sex with male prostitutes. We don't know what really happened. When the feds go and raid multiple homes and they come in with guns and they're seizing property, they already have a bunch of shit lined up. And if you really think about it, right?